Hi, I know you expected all the bells and whistles and the schmancy open and stuff, but ain't gonna happen this week because I'm beginning the first of a 5-part limited series here on Trailer Trash TV, my history of TV. And what I mean by that, I'm going to be showcasing for a limited time some of the classic kinescopes. Kids, if you're born after 1982, you'll have absolutely no clue what the F I'm talking about. So just watch for yourselves. This is what TV was like in the days before cable, the days before satellite, the days before internet. I know that's hard to picture, I know it's hard to imagine, but yes, it actually happened. The reason I say that, we actually used to get TV by way of rabbit ears and clicker knobs, all right? And if the president was on any given night, you were screwed. There was absolutely no way around it. There was nothing on TV because you had a whopping 3 channels at one point, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and launch right into this. It's going to be an hour long. I've got 2 back-to-back programs in their entirety that haven't originally been seen since they were originally broadcast until now. The first one I want to start with is something called the $64,000 Challenge. This was an offspring of the $64,000 question that aired from 1956 to 1958. It was kind of in the peak of the game show heyday in the mid to late 50s before the whole quiz show scandal evolved, which we'll be talking about once this is done. So let's launch right into it. Here's a $64,000 challenge on Trailer Trash TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the night of January 8, 1957, Al Einfrank, the man you are now looking at, with $32,000 in his hand, decided to go on and try for $64,000 on the category of geography, risking all. He entered the isolation booth without an expert and missed. Tonight, he is back to attempt to win. Also tonight, Billy Pearson, the jockey who rode Great Art to victory, continues his battle against Larry Rivers, young American artist, challenger on modern art, and Charles Duveen, lecturer and art authority on 17th and 18th century art, on the $64,000 challenge. Brought to you by Kent.
Smoke Kent, it is my Kent cigarette smoke Kent with the micronized filter.
And now, the star of our show, where challenger meets champion with $64,000 at stake, Ralph Story.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Oh, now stop that. Welcome to the $64,000 challenge. You've already met the contestants tonight, so let's get right down to business, Bill. And who is the first match for Kent Cigarettes?
On our first match, Kent Cigarettes welcome our champion on Great Art and Artist, the $107,000 winner from La Jolla, California, Billy Pearson, and our challenger, the young American artist from Southampton, Long Island, Larry Rivers.
Mr. Larry Rivers is challenging Billy Pearson on the subject of modern art. Gentlemen, I believe it's $8,000 at stake tonight, and I don't want to keep you waiting. You're challenging Billy for that amount, Larry. So I'm going to ask you two to immediately take your positions right in the soundproof booths, and I will come to your question in just a moment. Right now, here's the song that tells the important facts about Kent Cigarettes.
Smoke Kent with the micronized filter. It is a mild, mild cigarette. It's got the freshest, cleanest taste yet. It is a mild Kent cigarette. Smoke Kent with the micronized filter.
We've been hearing a lot of talk these days about filters, about this filter and that filter. Now, Kent, as you know, has the micronite filter. And the micronite filter is what gives Kent its important difference from other filter cigarettes. It is a fact. Not all filters filter alike. And it's the micronite filter that gives Kent the mildness and the clean, fresh taste that so many smokers prefer. But more than that, Kent gives you the full, rich, satisfying flavor of the premium quality tobaccos that have been carefully selected and custom blended in Kent. Put all these things together, the important micronite filter, the choicest tobaccos in the world, a clean, fresh taste, and you have Kent. So next time you hear talk about filters, remember Kent, America's premium quality cigarette. Tomorrow, try a pack. or a carton.
Tomorrow, why don't you try a pack or a carton of Kent cigarettes, now at popular filter price? Friends, as always, the questions have been kept in the safe deposit vaults of the Chase Manhattan Bank. And Mr. Albert Connors, the officer in charge, is here tonight. May I have the $8,000 question, modern art? Mr. Connors, thank you, sir. You hear me clearly, Billy?
Yes, fine.
And Mr. Rivers?
Yes?
Here it is, gentlemen. Tonight, your question deals with 7 paintings in the field of modern art. They are numbered 1 through 7. I will give you each a set of them. May I have those sets, Mr. Connors? There should be a set for each gentleman. Right. This one for you, Billy. There you are, starting with number 1. And may I have that other set for Larry? There you are. Now, gentlemen, please examine picture number 1. Now look at picture number 2. Then number 3. Number 4. 5. Number 6. And finally examine picture number 7. Now for $8,000, in groups of 2, match up by number the paintings made by the same artist. This will involve 6 paintings by 3 different artists. Then, name the artist who created each pair, and finally, name the artist who created that one remaining picture that's left over. You now have time to consider your answers. Good luck. Time is up. Mr. Pearson, you understand the question?
Yes, fine.
All right, let's turn the sound off in the champion's booth. Mr. Pearson can't hear us. Mr. Rivers, are you ready?
I'm ready, and I think I have the answers.
Good, good. I hope so. Would you pull the microphone up a little bit so that we can hear them?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Mr. Rivers, you have 7 pictures.
Yes.
6 of them can be arranged into 3 pairs, each
Right.
pair by a different artist.
Right.
Now, for $8,000, first, give me a pair of pictures by number. Do you want to start with number 1?
Okay, 1 and 6.
1 goes with 6.
1 goes with 6. It's
That's
Mondrian.
right.
Mondrian. Oh, you don't want to even know the name?
Oh, yes, you can name the artist for each pair as you go along. Who was the artist for the first pair?
Mondrian.
You're right.
Now,
Another pair, please.
7 and 4, Paul Klee.
7 and 4 is right, and Clay is right.
And 5 and 2, Picasso. Who's
Did you say Picasso?
Yes.
You're right. And that leaves 1 picture left over. Number 3.
Mr. Matisse.
You're right for $8,000, Mr. Rivers. That's well-deserved applause, Mr. Rivers.
Can I say something? Can I compliment the print department? These prints are much better than the ones you showed last week, making the question a little simpler.
A little simpler.
Yes.
Actually,
The prints are
I
good.
have nothing to do with the prints, but I will pass it along to the prints, I guess, whoever did it. All right? Mr. Rivers, would you remain silent for a minute because I'm going to ask the same question of the champion, and I don't want him to hear anything, all right? All right. Could we have the sound on in the champion's booth? Mr. Pearson, you're busy looking at the paintings. Are you ready?
Yes.
You have 7 pictures. 6 of them can be arranged into 3 pairs, each pair by a different artist. Now, incidentally, Mr. Rivers answered this correctly. If you miss, you lose $8,000 in your championship in this category of art. Are you ready? Would you pair the pictures by number, and you can start with any number?
All right, I'll take number 1 and 6.
1 goes with 6, that's right. You want to give me the artist now or come back to that later?
Mondrian.
You're right.
Two and 5, Picasso.
That's right, and that's right.
Four and 7,
That's right.
Clay.
Right again, and one more name for $8,000 and a tie. Billy, the artist who created... Beg pardon?
Matisse.
You're right. It's a draw. Congratulations, you both did very well. That's a tie at $8,000. That means next week you'll be back for $16,000.
If I can come back. No, I thought if I managed to survive.
Well, you have. You have. You've already gone through the worst part. All you have to do is stay alive this week and come right back. Billy, let me see. I was just starting to mentally add up your winnings. 102,000 plus 1,000 plus 8,000, 111,000 that you have in potential. Have you invested any of this money that you've won?
Oh, I made a lot of wonderful investments. I invested in a racing motorcycle,
Well, that's practical.
Geiger counter,
Well, I guess you can prospect with it.
and I made a very good investment. I invested in a golden gibbon ape.
Ape?
Yeah.
A live ape?
Sure.
Not a stuff.
No, he's live.
Well, everybody ought to have an ape, I guess. What are you going to do with your ape?
Well, I was going to try and teach him how to, use the Geiger counter, but but I run into a little trouble. I had to buy some, a chunk of uranium to make the Geiger counter work. Because, the diodes don't do anything.
Yeah, well, what's an ape without uranium for his Geiger counter? I agree with you. Did you make any other interesting investments?
Oh, I invested in a boat.
Oh, I hate you a little bit for that. I'd love to own one. What'd you buy?
I bought a 50-foot teak jewelry ketch.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
And I'm going to try and sail it around the world.
When are we going?
Well, just as soon as the ape finds a big piece of uranium.
Oh, dear. Mr. Rivers, do you have assuming you don't have an ape, do you have a teakwood boat or anything like that?
No, I don't have a teakwood boat. The closest I come to anything like that kind of possession is a 1939 Ford station wagon.
Well, that's not... So that has a little teakwood on it, I suspect. Wait a minute, are you implying that you're still sort of a poor, struggling young artist?
Well, I'm not young. No, I sort of... it would be a little untruthful to say that I'm struggling. I sell quite a few things of mine,
Oh, congratulations. Incidentally, how does one go about buying something? I mean, do you paint things on commission?
Well, I don't paint things on commission. Usually I sort of paint what I think, I'm sort of thinking of either a certain kind of painting.
You paint what you like.
Yeah, and I have had a few commissions, but I didn't sort of like them too much. And as far as where you can see these things or buy these things, I have a dealer, Tibor de Nagy. He's a...
Tibor
Yes.
de Nagy?
Gallery, yes. Tibor, he's Hungarian, and he takes care of the sale of paintings.
What does he do, determine the value of them?
No, well, I guess he does determine the value. It's hard to decide exactly what they're worth. I mean, what anything is worth a certain day. For instance, what are you worth? I mean, how would you sort of decide about yourself? Yes.
Larry, there's a shortage of stupid MCs, so I command a big price. Larry, honestly, it's been wonderful talking to you. I wish I could go on. Time is running short. We'll see you next week for a $16,000 challenge against Billy Pearson, and good luck. Study
Goodbye.
those paintings.
Goodbye.
Bill, you stay where you are. Ready for another one?
Well, to tell you the truth, Ralph, actually, no.
No, we're going to... Oh, wait, incidentally, I almost forgot. Just before I came out here, Sarah handed me a cablegram. It's for you, but it's addressed in care of me. Do you want me to read it? You want?
Sure.
It's for Bill Pearson. From the Liberté at Sea. It says, bound for Europe at last. If you happen to lose, be comforted. This is very pleasant, and there are no isolation booths. Signed, Varda.
I'm almost tempted to go.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't go. We've got another expert, Mr. Duveen. You said you'd take on experts in various categories of art. He's waiting in the wings right now. We'll meet him in just a second. First, here's Bob Wright with an important question and answer.
I have here a box full of filter cigarettes, more than you can count on the fingers of both hands, because there are that many filter cigarettes on the market today. But let me ask you this. How many of these cigarettes have filters as familiar to you as Kent's micronite filter? There's a reason why you've heard more about Kent's micronite filters. Today, that filter is what gives Kent the important difference from other filter cigarettes. It's the micronite filter that gives Kent the mildness and the clean, fresh taste so many smokers prefer. Now, there's another important difference about Kent, too. Only the finest, premium quality tobaccos in the world, custom blended to bring out all their rich tobacco flavor, are used in Kent. A box full of filter cigarettes, but only one, Kent, has the micronite filter, plus the costliest tobaccos in the world, plus a clean, fresh taste. Now, that's what makes Kent America's premium quality cigarette. Remember,
Smoke Kent with the micronite filter. It is a mild, mild cigarette. It's got the freshest, sweetest taste yet. It is a mild Kent cigarette. Smoke Kent with the micronite filter.
Tomorrow, why don't you get yourself a pack or a carton? Remember, Kent, now at popular filter price. All right, Bill Rogers, who's our next guest for Kent Cigarettes?
Well, our next challenger, Ralph, is the noted art authority and critic from New York City, Mr. Charles Duveen.
Well, Mr. Devine, I'd like to know a little more about what you started to tell me last week. You said you were on a crusade about art appreciation and were giving lectures. Frankly, I'm curious personally, how can I learn more about art? Because believe me, I don't know anything about it.
Well, Mr. Story, first of all, I encourage you to use a great deal of discrimination in what you buy.
I haven't bought anything yet.
And in the field of modern art, for example, I would suggest that you not be afraid to question some of the ability of our contemporary artists. In other words, get rid of your inferiority complex.
Well, I didn't really know that I had. Actually, I have got one. You're right about it. How did you know I have an inferiority complex about art?
Well, most people do about modern art, Mr. Story. When they look at an abstract painting, for example, they have a feeling that they don't understand it. There's something wrong with them. But actually, the fault lies with the artist himself.
You mean, that, are you implying that you don't think much of modern artists?
Well, I'm not implying it, Mr. Story. I'm rather saying it. It is my considered opinion that 50% of our contemporary artists should be bricklayers, plumbers, butchers, department store executives, anything else except artists.
Are you aware of the fact that Mr. Larry Rivers, who just preceded you here on the stand, is a modern artist? I think I should tell you that for your own protection, you know.
Pity, isn't it?
Mr. Devine, I don't think we better start a controversy here. Actually, you challenged Billy Pearson last week. You both answered a $1,000 question tonight. It starts at 2. Mr. Connors, you have that question from Chase Manhattan. You take this, sir. Billy, I think you know that your championship depends on the answers. Mr. Devine, you answer first if you're ready. You seem to be. You're gritting your teeth. Spain in the 17th and 18th centuries produced two of the world's greatest artists. One of these men, in his painting, The Surrender of Breda, represented war as gracious and courtly. For $2,000, name this artist.
Velasquez.
You're right for $2,000. Billy, a Spanish artist of the same period in a series of drawings called The Disasters of War, represented war as brutal and degrading. For $2,000, name this artist.
Goya.
You're right, it's a draw, $2,000. Mr. Devine, now Billy has been through this, you haven't. When we come to the $4,000 question, I ask you both the same question. I don't want you to hear each other's answers. We've constructed two nice air-conditioned, soundproof booths so you don't hear each other's answers. Would you please turn around and enter them? Good luck. May I have the $4,000 question, please? Thank you, sir. You hear me?
Fine.
Coming through to you?
Yes, sir.
Good. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the art of portrait painting reached great heights in England. For $4,000, Name the artist who painted first Mrs. Siddons as the tragic muse, then Boy with Rabbit, then who painted 35 portraits of Queen Henrietta Maria. Finally, tell me the name of the woman whom Romney painted at least 7 times in various allegorical portraits. Mr. Devine, Mr. Pearson, that question is worth $4,000, and you have a few seconds to think it over. Good luck. Mr. Pearson, you understand the question? Let's turn the sound off in the champion's booth then. Mr. Devine, only you and I in the audience are together now. Mr. Pearson can't hear us. For $4,000, name the artist who painted first Mrs. Siddons as the tragic muse.
May I go slightly backwards on this?
You can go in
story?
any order you'd like, Mr. Devine.
If we start with
Would you like to...
we had a boy with a rabbit. Is that correct?
Boy with Rabbit. Yes, that's actually the second part.
May I suggest that was painted by Thomas Sully?
I'm sorry, sir, that's not right. It says Henry Rayburn was the artist who painted Boy with Rabbit. I have to consider then that that whole answer is wrong, Mr.
I
Devine.
understand. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, actually, please remain silent because I'm going to ask the same question of the champion, and if he misses, you still have a chance to win some money. Would you
Thank
remain
you,
silent, please? We turn the sound on in the champion's booth. Mr. Pearson, Mr. Devine has missed this question. You have a chance to win $4,000 and the championship on 17th and 18th century art if you can answer. Are you ready? Name the artist who painted first Mrs. Siddons as the tragic muse.
Oh, that's in the Huntington Art Gallery. That would be Reynolds.
Right?
I didn't understand too well that second question. Can you...
Boy with Rabbit. It doesn't say here, but I presume that's the title of the painting.
That's Rayburn.
Right. Third part. Who painted 35 portraits of Queen Henrietta Maria?
Well, he also did about 35 or 38 of the King, Charles I. That would be Van Dyke.
You're right on the third part. Billy, just one more name for $4,000. Tell me the name of the woman whom Romney painted at least 7 times in various allegorical portraits.
Lady Hamilton.
You're right, and still the champion.
Oh, I'm glad I got one of those.
Oh, you were jumping up and down in pleasure, but I'm sorry, Mr. Devine, that you missed that. Really am. I certainly hope that you come back here again because I'd like to see you have another chance because I'm sure you have a good deal of knowledge of art. Billy here is jumping up and down. I better get that check for you before you hit me on the head, Billy. There it is, a $4,000 check for Bill Pearson, and with our very best compliments. Oh, wait a minute, there's another check here, too. Well, by golly, now, it says here, I'm not sure, is this correct? We have checks made up in every amount. It is not correct. All right, they handed me this check by mistake. Well, I better tear this up before you get your hands on it.
Mine's correct, though.
It is correct, yes, it is. Actually, we have checks made up in every amount so that no matter what happens with the match, we bring out the right check for it. All right, Mr. Devine, better luck next time. Thank you for being with us.
I couldn't have lost to a better man.
Oh, well,
Thank you very much.
You are both very kind gentlemen. Good night, Billy. Good night, Mr. Devine. Friends, we'll have another match in a moment. Every now and then you see a girl who seems to actually glow with freshness. I can tell you men notice them. Well, here's Barbara Britton to give you girls the secret.
Well, the secret is that beauty starts with clean, healthy skin. And that's why beauty starts with clean and clear. The different facial cleanser by Revlon. Now, this pink liquid does more for your skin than a softener or a moisturizer or a cleanser. And that's because it's all of these and more. As soon as clean and clear touches your skin, you'll see the difference. It foams and it stimulates. And it's so soft and it moisturizes and gets your skin cleaner than ever before. Now look, when you clean your face with cream, the tissue shows surface dirt like this. So clean your face again until the tissue shows no dirt. There. But now, use Clean and Clear, the new Beauty Basic. And look at this. There is the dirt that your regular cleanser left behind. So give your skin that clean, fresh, healthy glow. Get Clean and Clear.
Good advice, Barbara. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the show that pits champions against challengers. Now, who are the champions? Well, actually, they are people who come to us from the $64,000 question, having won $8,000 or more. On January 8th of this year, a contestant with remarkable knowledge attempted to go the limit, and despite his knowledge, could not answer the big question. He is a $32,000 winner, but a $64,000 loser, a man that we feel deserves the title and to be called champion. So, Bill Rogers, would you introduce Kent's next champion, please?
On our third match, Kent Cigarettes welcome Alfred Einfrank.
Al Einfrank. Mr. Al Einfrank, ex-sailor, truck driver, and champion on geography.
Thank you, Ralph, but I don't really think I deserve that after the big mistake that I made last time.
I think you do deserve it, Al. You went for a $64,000 question. You know, you went past 32. You went for the big one. You made a good try, and you missed. I think you deserve to be called a champion, and I think you have a right to defend that title right here.
Well, I thank you very much. I certainly appreciate it.
Al, you've been in the news all week. Were you quoted correctly, or do you want to take anything back or change anything?
No, sir. I meant every word I said. You know, when I went for that big one, I lost my friends and my relatives asked me to stay at 32. I meant every word I said.
Well, Al, wait a minute. You didn't intend to lose from the beginning, did you?
Of course not. Who wants to lose? I really went to win something and go to the top. But these people kept asking me for a share of my winners before I even won it.
Al?
And I figured I wouldn't have anything left.
Al, you look like the sharing kind, you know. That's
Well,
why.
yeah, I'm a Taurus. I got a big heart, and not so much brains, but I'm really benevolent. But the share that they asked kept bigger and bigger, and I figured if I won and stayed at 32, they'd have got more than me. That's why I gambled and I lost.
Oh, wait a minute, Al. Now, how about your wife? How does she feel about this?
Well, that is a sad point. Poor kid. She was hurt the most. She meant right for me. She wanted me to stay at 32 for my own benefit. But I learned a lesson. I'm glad I'm brought back on this program. I'm sadder and wiser, and I'm going to be more careful.
Gee, that's fine, Al. Are you also wiser on the subject of geography?
Oh, you darn right I'm wiser. I'm reading Ted Nadler's life story on memory. It's going to be on the streets tomorrow, I think, at 50 cents a copy. That's the brainiest brain of all, and I recommend it to everyone.
Al, let's meet your challenger here now, because I want to find out who he is. Bill Rogers, would you introduce Kent's next guest?
Well, Ralph, Al's challenger is from New York City, Mr. Richard E. Harrison.
I'm sorry, Ralph. This is awkward, but we haven't time to continue.
Oh, I'm very sorry, too, Pat. Well, gee, Mr. Harrison, I've just had a chance to shake hands. I hope we have a chance to talk next week. Please come back next week. It'll be a pleasure to see you again. Al?
I hope I see you next week.
Good.
Wish you lots of luck.
Looks like the beginning of a great match, Al.
Thank you, Ralph.
Best of luck to you. Friends, be sure to watch Hal March in the $64,000 question this coming Tuesday. Dominic Koo will be back for the $16,000 question on American slang, comics, football, history, and pop music. Mrs. Reba Thaler will face the $16,000 question on the sport of kings. And our Ziegfeld Follies beauty, Miss Barbara Hall, will continue her climb on the category of Shakespeare. Join us again next week when more champions and more challengers face the $64,000 challenge. Good night.
Would you like to be a contestant on this program and challenge one of our champions? You can win up to $64,000. It can happen to you, but only if you sit down and write us a letter telling us all about yourself and enclosing a snapshot which cannot be returned. Address your letter to Challenge, CBS Television, 485 Madison Avenue, New York. Transportation for the $64,000 challenge was arranged by American Airlines. Guests were flown to New York aboard American's famous luxury flight, DC-7 Mercury. The $64,000 challenge has been brought to you by Kent.
No Kent, it is my Kent cigarette smoke. Kent with the micronite filter.
Sounds by Edward Abbott. Negligees by Van Ralph.
Well, if you're just tuning in, no, there's nothing wrong with your set. It's just a little TV history for those of you that were born after 1982, excuse me. I know it's hard to picture life without cell phones, life without satellite dishes, life without cable, and God forbid, telephones used to have dials too. And, you had the remote controls consisting of asking one of your kids to go up and turn the knob. Therefore, we're in the middle of Trailer Trash TV's History of TV, a limited 5-part series, and we just got done watching the $64,000 challenge. This was the first game show offspring in TV history. Winners of the way the show evolved, winners of its parent show, the $64,000 question. Anyone that had won on that show was invited to come on this one and, God forbid, win even more cash. And, I was talking about the game show scandal that evolved shortly after this, involving one show in particular, 21. In fact, that's what we're going to be showing next. Those of you that saw the movie that was done in the early 90s with Robert Redford called Quiz Show, that's exactly what that movie was based on. So let's launch into that particular episode of 21, hosted and co-produced by one Jack Berry. Let's go to it.
Good evening. I'm Jack Barry. Tonight here on 21, Herbert Stemple, our 29-year-old GI college student, can win $111,500, the highest amount of money ever to be won on television. But to do this, he's risking much of the money he has won thus far. So right now, let's meet our first two players as Geritol, America's #1 tonic, presents 21.
From New York City, Mr. Charles Van Doren, and returning with $69,500 from Forest Hills, New York, Mr. Herbert Stemple.
Gentlemen, welcome back to 21. Your two smiling faces here tonight after that hectic battle you were involved in last week. I'm sure we're in for tremendous excitement here on the program. How are you tonight, Mr. Van Doren?
I'm all right.
You're okay?
Yeah.
And Herb, you got your $69,500 riding here at stake. How do you feel, okay?
That's fine, thank you.
Good enough. Herb, there has been some question raised as to whether or not you knew before going into this game that should there be tie games occur, as they have, that so much more of your money would be risked. I mean, for instance, right now we're going to be playing for $2,000 a point. Were you aware that this would happen, could happen?
Sure I was, Mr. Barry. I knew it all along since I've been in the game to start with, and as a matter of fact, I have played several tie games, one with Dr. Caballo.
That's right, you did.
Also with this Miss Strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm putting an awful lot of money on the line. I'm certainly risking an awful lot of money, but by the same token, I can win a lot of money, too, which is also very important.
Yes, indeed, you can. You can win or lose a lot. All I wanted to make perfectly clear was that you knew certainly that this could possibly happen. You had no way to know that it would happen, but that it could possibly happen, as it did with Dr. Carballo.
That is right, Mr. Barry.
Right, Herb, but I hope we cleared that up for some of the viewers who have wondered about it. And if you two fellows are ready, may I caution you once again that tonight it will be the biggest game we've ever played here in the program. $2,000 a point. Be very, very careful before you answer. Take your time, and the very, very best of luck to both of you. Neither player inside the studios can hear anything until I turn their studios on with switches which I control right here in front of me, nor can they see anybody in the television studio audience because of the way the lights are constructed. Can you hear me, Mr. Van Doren?
Yes, I can.
Very good. I have your studio on. Your studio is on, Herb. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Now we're going to go on trying to get 21. I'll be back to you in just a moment, Herb. Now, Mr. Van Doren, I guess you know pretty well from last week how to play this game. You've got to try to score 21 points. You do it by answering questions that have a point value from 1 to 11. The high point questions are much more difficult than the lower point questions, and you'll tell us how much you know about the category by grading yourself from 1 to 11. The first category, the Civil War. How much do you know about it? You tell us from 1 to 11.
That's an awful big subject. I'll try for 8 points.
For 8 points. Because of a disagreement with his commanding general, Ulysses Grant was virtually placed under arrest for a brief time early in 1862. Who was the commanding general of the Union Army at that time?
Oh, yes. I know his name, Mrs. Wallace. Halleck. General H.W. Halleck.
You're right, and you have 8 points. Herb Semple, $69,500 is at stake. At $2,000 a point, of course, the winner will get the difference at the end of this match in your scores at $2,000 a point. The category is the Civil War. How many points do you want?
I'll try 9.
For 9 points. Because he did not sanction secession, this man was the only Southerner who refused to leave the United States Senate when his state seceded from the Union in June of 1861. Name him and the state he represented.
Andrew Johnson of Tennessee.
You're right. You have 9 points. Mr. Van Doren, you have 8 points. The category is boxing. How many points do you want from 1 to 11?
I'm not sure I should do this. I'll try for 9 points.
For 9 points. Name the 3 heavyweight champions immediately preceding Joe Louis.
Well, Louis defeated James J. Braddock. And before Braddock was Max Baer. And before Baer was either Max Schmeling or Primo Carnera. Let's see. Either Schmeling. Was it Schmeling?
No, I'm sorry. It was Primo Carnera. I'm sorry. You lose 9 points. That you don't go below 0. We put you back to 0, and better luck on the next round. Herb Stemper, you have 9 points. The category is boxing. How many do you want to try for?
7.
For 7 points, one of the most famous promoters in boxing history, the man who promoted the first $1 Million Gate, is largely responsible for prize fights being staged out of doors. Name this man.
Tex Rickard.
Right, you now have 16 points. Gentlemen, I want to caution you not to speak now because this is the one point when you can be heard. This is the spot, you know, before we've reached 21 when you get a chance to stop the game. If either of you want to stop the game, you can do so, but I caution you not to do it, particularly at $2,000 a point, unless you really think you are leading at this point. If either of you stops the game, whoever has the high score at this point will win $2,000 a point for the difference in your scores. If neither of you want to stop, we'll then continue on to 21. I'm going to give you some time to think it over. If either player stops the game now, Herb Semple, who is leading by 16 points at $2,000 a point, will win $32,000 more, bringing him up to $101,500. But he doesn't know it because they do not know each other's scores. Let's see what happens. If either of you want to stop the game, you must tell me so right now. No? Neither of you. All right, gentlemen. I think I need a breather more than you do, so suppose we take time out here for just a second while I talk to the people, and then we'll continue on with our game of 21. Please don't talk, because your studios are both on the air. All right, gentlemen, we're going on now to 21. Herb, I'll be back to you in just a moment. Van Doren, you have no points at the present. The category is movies and movie stars. How many points do you want from 1 to 11?
I think I should take about 7, but I just can't risk it. I'll try for 10 points.
For 10 points, one of the tough questions. In 1954, the Oscars for Best Supporting Actress, Best Director, and Best Story and Screenplay Writer all went to people who had worked in the film On the Waterfront. Name these people.
Well, the director was Elia Kazan.
That's right.
And the writer was, Schulberg.
Right.
Bud Schulberg.
And the Best Supporting Actress?
Well, the only woman I can remember in that picture was the one who played opposite Brando. But I would have thought that she would get the Best Actress award. She's the only one I can remember. Let's see, she was that lovely, frail girl. Eva Marie Saint.
Right, you have 10 points. Herb Stempel, you have 16 points. The category is movies and movie stars. How many points do you want to try for from 1 to 11?
I'll try 5.
Which would give you 21 points if you get this right, and you will be the winner again. Because this is a critical moment, if you need some extra time, you can have it. You asked, let me make it sure again, you asked for 5 points. All right. What motion picture won the Academy Award for 1955? You need some extra time to think about it?
I sure do.
I'll tell you when your time is up. Your time is up, Herb Stempel, for 5 points, which would give you 21. What motion picture won the Academy Award for 1955?
Sure, it's not On the Waterfront, but that's the only film I remember. I don't remember.
You want to take a guess at it? If not, I'll have to call it wrong, Herb.
On the Waterfront?
No, I'm sorry, the answer is Marty. Marty. You lose 5 points, it puts you back down to 11. Better luck on the next round. Mr. Van Doren, you have 10 points. The category Explorers. Explorers. How many points do you want to try for?
I'm going to go all the way to 21. Let me try for 11 points.
You want to try to hit 21 by 11 by answering an 11-point question.
That's right.
All right. If you do answer this, you'll have 21, but you'll still have to wait for Herb Stempel to get another crack at it.
Yeah.
And you can have some extra time if you need it. Here is your question. Pizarro, P-I-Z-A-R-R-O, was an early Spanish explorer who discovered and conquered an advanced civilization. Tell us the civilization he discovered, the country this civilization was in, and the leader of the civilization at the time of the conquest. Would you like time to think it over?
As much as you can spare.
I'll tell you when your time is up. Your time is up. Tell us the civilization he discovered, first of all, if you can, or take it any order you want.
Yes, Pizarro discovered the Incas.
Right.
And the Incas lived in Peru.
You're right, and the leader of the civilization, which would give you 21 points if you get this right.
Well, let's see, there was this fellow named Manco. He was crowned by Pizarro, so but he had a brother, Atahualpa. That was the man who had a room full of gold offered. So I guess that Atahualpa was the leader of the Incas at the time of the conquest.
That's your answer, Atahualpa?
That's right.
Then you've scored 21 points. Mr. Van Doren?
Yeah.
You have the desired number of points, 21, but Herb Stempel still has to get a chance at it. Now I'm going to allow you to listen in, so please do not speak. Herb Stempel, you have 11 points. The category Explorers. How many points do you want to try for from 1 to 11?
I'll try 10.
You're going to try to go to 21.
Yes.
I can tell you now that your opponent has already scored 21 points. If you answer this next question correctly, you'll have 21, and we'll have another tie, which means we'll have to play another game at $2,500 a point. If you miss, of course, he will win, and I'm not even going to bother to figure it up because it's quite gigantic. Here is your question, and take your time. You can have some extra time if you need it. 4 great voyages were made by Christopher Columbus, and many different places were among his discoveries. Tell us on which voyage, the first, second, third, or fourth, each of the following places was discovered: the Virgin Islands, Martinino or Santa Lucia, Hispaniola or Haiti, and South America. Do you need some time to think this over, Herb Semple?
Sure do.
I'll tell you when your time is up. Your time is up, Herb, for 10 points, which will either give you 21 or put your way back down to about 1 point. 4 great voyages were made by Columbus. Different places were among his discoveries. Tell us on which voyage, the first, second, third, or fourth, each of the following places were discovered. You want to take a crack at the Virgin Islands?
I'll try Hispaniola.
All right.
That was on the first voyage.
You're right.
South America was on the third voyage.
That's right for the second part.
What are the other 2 now?
Martinino or Santa Lucia and the Virgin Islands.
Martinino is on the 4th voyage.
That is right. And the Virgin Islands?
Is the 3rd. Virgin. It's been on the 1st. And Martinino 4th. Therefore, the Virgin Islands must be the 2nd.
You're right, and you have 21 points. Yes. Gentlemen, it's happened again. You both have 21 points. There is a tie. As you know, in the case of a tie, we play another game. The stakes go up. We're going to play in just a moment for $2,500 a point. Before we go on, I would like to say that all the questions that are used on 21 have been authenticated for their accuracy and the order of their difficulty by the editorial board of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Fellas, you all set? Van Doren, Herb Semple. $2,500 a point. Take it easy on this. Be very careful. I'll get back to you in a moment, Herb. All right, Mr. Van Doren, the first category, newspapers. Newspapers. How many points do you want from 1 to 11?
I'll try 8 points.
For 8 points, grandsons of Joseph Medill, 2 of the most successful journalists in the country from 1914 on, were the owners and managers of the Chicago Tribune and the New York Daily News. Who were they?
Well, the Chicago Tribune, that would be Colonel Robert R. McCormick.
You're right.
And the Daily News, wouldn't that be Patterson, Joseph Patterson?
It would be, and you have 8 points. Herb Semple, with your $69,500 still at stake, although now at $2,500 a point, the category is newspapers. How many do you want to try for?
I'll try 11.
The toughest question of them all. One of the most revered names in American journalism is that of a Kansas newspaper publisher who died in 1944. Tell us this man's name, the name of his newspaper, and the title of the editorial he wrote, which made him and his paper nationally known.
The name of the editor is William Allen White.
That is right.
His paper was the Emporia Gazette.
That is right. Finally, for 11 points,
I'll have to think a little bit about the third.
Herb, you can take a little time. You go right ahead.
I don't know.
It's the title of the editorial we want, which he wrote. It made his paper nationally famous and well known.
I don't know.
No idea?
Just won't help to guess. I don't know.
I beg your pardon?
Just won't help to guess. I don't know.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to give it to you then, Herb. The editorial, the title was, What's the Matter with Kansas? I'm sorry you don't answer. You don't lose any points, but you stay at 0. Better luck on the next round. Mr. Van Doren, you have 8 points. The category Kings, K-I-N-G-S, Kings. How many points do you want?
I'll try for 10 points.
For 10 points, it's well known that some of Henry VIII's 6 wives fared better than others. He divorced his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, married his 6th, Catherine Parr, just a few years before he died. Name the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th wives of Henry VIII and describe their fates.
Oh, my goodness. You want me to name the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th wives, and what happened to all of them?
That's right.
Oh, I'll have to think a minute. Catherine, you mentioned Catherine of Aragon. She was the first one. Now, the second one was Anne Boleyn.
That's right.
And, of course, the poor woman was beheaded.
That is right.
Now, the third was Jane Seymour.
Right.
And I believe she died a natural death. She died in childbirth.
That is right.
After the birth of the future Edward VI. The fourth now.
Right.
Let's see, the two Anne. Anne of Cleves.
Right.
And I don't think he beheaded her. Did he divorce her?
You'll have to tell me rather than
He
that.
divorced her.
He did. You're right. Finally, the 5th.
The 5th. It's one more. One more. Oh, I think that Henry VIII married three Catherines. Now, you mentioned Catherine of Aragon. Who was the other Catherine that you met? The 6th wife? Catherine Parr, was that the 6th one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Catherine Aragon, Catherine Parr. Catherine Howard.
Right. And what happened to her?
Yes, what happened to her? Considering Henry VIII, he probably divorced her or beheaded her. Let's see. Well, he divorced his... Did he behead Catherine Howard?
He did. You've got 18 points. Herb Semple, you have no points. The category is Kings, K-I-N-G-S. How many points do you want from 1 to 11?
I'll try 10.
I beg your pardon?
10.
10 points. It is well known that some of Henry VIII's 6 wives fared better than others. He divorced his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, married his 6th, Catherine Parr, just a few years before he died. Name the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th wives of Henry VIII and describe their fates.
2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th?
Right. And describe their fates.
Anne Boleyn was the 2nd.
Right.
Jane Seymour the 3rd.
That is right.
Anne of Cleves the 4th.
Right again.
And Catherine Howard was the 5th.
You're right. You've got all the names. Now, can you describe their fates?
Well, they all died.
Well, Herb, I'm going to have to ask you how they died.
I know what you meant,
First
I know what you meant, Mr. Barry. I was just making a little fun.
First, Anne Boleyn.
Anne Boleyn. Executed.
Right. Jane Seymour.
I'm not sure about her.
You want to go on to Anne of Cleves?
Yes.
All right.
Anne of Cleves. Divorced.
Right. Catherine Howard.
Catherine Howard. Executed.
Right. And finally, back to Jane Seymour.
Divorced. Then executed. Anne of Cleves. Divorced. Catherine
Died in childbirth.
You're right. You have 10 points. Gentlemen, I'm going to caution you now not to divulge your scores because you can hear each other. We're at the point now where you get a chance to stop the game. If either of you stops the game, whoever has the high score wins. So be very, very careful. I'm going to give you some time, and I'll tell you when your time is up. If either player stops the game right now, Mr. Van Doren, who is 8 points ahead at $2,500 a point, will win back $20,000 from Herb Stempel. But he doesn't know it because they don't know each other's scores. Let's see what happens. If either of you want to stop the game, you must tell me so right now.
I'll stop.
Then you win $20,000. Congratulations, Mr. Van Doren. You deserve congratulations, and while I'm saying that, I want to say, by golly, you've had a tremendous run here. Herb, you had $69,500 when you started. You lost $29,000. You're still going home with $49,500, which is a big sum. Herb, in the few brief moments we have, what are you going to do with the dough?
Well, Mr. Barry, this all came so suddenly. First thing I want to do is outfit my family, and I would also like to make a small contribution to the City College Fund to repay the people of the city of New York for the free education which they've given me. And then I'm going to guard the rest of my money, put it in the bank, and I would also like to thank you and the members of your staff for all the kindness and the courtesy which you've extended to me.
Herb, I want to say one thing. We may have a lot of contestants in the future, but I doubt that anybody will ever display the knowledge, the fighting spirit, and the courage that you have in this program. We, your friends, all the students at CCNY, I'm certain are just as proud of you as we are, and deservedly so. And thank you for being a wonderful contestant. Herb Stempel, ladies and gentlemen, the night match ball.
Okay, so that was the show that basically initiated this entire game show scandal. You know, the show was accused of being rigged. Contestants were quote-unquote prepped by the producers beforehand, as Mr. Stempel had recorded and filed suit with. So, you know, and the other thing with 21, that whole scandal led to the cancellation of 4 other game shows in the fall of 1958. So, and along with that, the game show's popularity did not even, the resurgence of the game show, shall we say, did not even come around for another 30 years after that. You know, game shows didn't become popular as in mainstream popular until mid and late 70s. And the whole flavor of the game show, you know, everything being quiz shows and millionaire shows, and that whole flavor of the game show is, to me, it's getting a little stale. The old school game show, the panelist game shows, the Joe Everyday panelist game show, that's where the true flavor was. So, with that said, that's been it for this this episode of this particular installment of Trailer Trash TV's History TV. Stick around. There's more of these to come in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching. I've been your host, Scotty J. We'll see you next time out.